Actor Gene Hackman's cause of death revealed. It is tragic, sad. Officials tonight say the actor's wife died a week before Hackman.
As we know, both individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide.
For years, the Hollywood legend had disappeared from the spotlight, choosing a quiet life away from fame.
Breaking news, you're looking at video of one of the last times Oscar winner Gene Hackman, a known recluse in recent years, was seen in public.
But when news broke of his passing, alongside his wife, Betsy Arakawa, something felt off. The official story didn't match the unsettling details that soon emerged. Hackman had been living in near total isolation. His wife died mysteriously from an extremely rare disease, and his only daughter, Leslie Hackman, claimed he was perfectly healthy until leaked medical records proved otherwise. Why was Leslie so desperate to paint a different picture of her father's final days? Why did the police initially call the case suspicious? And most importantly, who had something to hide? This isn't just another Hollywood tragedy. The deeper we dig, the stranger this story becomes. Because if the rumors are true, Gene Hackman's death may have been part of something much bigger. And what happens next will leave you speechless. Gene Hackman was one of Hollywood's most respected actors until he vanished from the public eye. After retiring in 2004, he chose a quiet life in New Mexico with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. But in his final years, something wasn't right. Neighbors rarely saw him. Friends said he had completely disappeared. And despite his daughter, Leslie Hackman, claiming they spoke weekly, phone records tell a different story, showing almost no contact between them in his final months. Even more disturbing, Hackman hadn't been seen outside his home for nearly a year before his passing. His world had shrunk to nothing, with only his wife by his side. So why did Leslie insist he was perfectly fine? And why did his inner circle seem to keep people away? Because the truth about Gene Hackman's final days was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Leslie Hackman insisted her father was perfectly fine before he passed. She told the media he was sharp, still reading books, and even driving. But when his medical records were leaked, they shattered her entire story. Gene Hackman had been suffering from advanced Alzheimer's for at least 2 years. He had also endured multiple heart attacks, a condition serious enough that doctors were stunned no one had publicly acknowledged it. Even more suspicious, there were no records of medical care in his final months. No doctor visits, no new prescriptions, no hired nurses. Hackman, a man in severe cognitive decline, was left completely alone. But here's where it gets even stranger. If Leslie was as close to her father as she claimed, how did she not know any of this? Was she completely unaware of his suffering? Or was she hiding the truth for a much bigger reason? When news broke that Gene Hackman had passed away, Hollywood mourned. But then another shocking revelation surfaced. His wife, Betsy Arakawa, had died just days earlier under bizarre circumstances. The official cause? A rare, rodent-borne disease, one so uncommon that even medical experts were baffled. A doctor from the CDC stated, "We almost never see this in the US, let alone in a wealthy household with strict sanitation." Then came the real mystery. Who was taking care of Hackman after Betsy's sudden death? With his severe Alzheimer's, he would have needed full-time supervision. Yet neighbors noticed something chilling. His mail had been piling up for weeks. No visitors, no calls for help. And then, the most unsettling detail of all, the police initially described his case as suspicious before suddenly going silent. What happened inside that house? And more importantly, who wanted these deaths to be forgotten? As investigators dug deeper into Gene Hackman's final days, one disturbing fact stood out. His home security system had been turned off for at least 3 weeks before his body was found. Who shut it down? And why? Even stranger, there were no records of emergency calls, doctor visits, or medical assistance in his last moments. Hackman, a man suffering from advanced Alzheimer's and severe heart disease, was left completely alone, despite needing constant care. Neighbors reported that for weeks, no one entered or left the house. A postal worker noticed his mail piling up, but no one came to collect it. Surveillance cameras showed no visitors, no caregivers, nothing. So how did he survive on his own? Or was he never supposed to? Someone made sure Hackman was cut off from the world, and the more investigators looked into it, the more it became clear. This was no ordinary death. Gene Hackman wasn't just a Hollywood legend, he was an outsider. Unlike many of his peers, he avoided powerful industry circles, steering clear of secret Hollywood elites. But some believe that's exactly what made him dangerous. Whispers soon emerged that Hackman and his wife, Betsy, had been keeping secrets. An anonymous source claimed they knew too much. But about what? It wouldn't be the first time a Hollywood star vanished under strange circumstances. Stanley Kubrick mysteriously passed away just days after completing Eyes Wide Shut, a film rumored to expose industry secrets. Brittany Murphy and her husband both died within months of each other, with speculation of poisoning. Isaac Cappy, an actor who spoke out against Hollywood's dark side, was found dead under suspicious circumstances. Was Hackman next? Did he and Betsy try to escape something they weren't supposed to? And if so, who silenced them before they could talk? Throughout the investigation, one question kept resurfacing. Why was Leslie Hackman so desperate to control the narrative? She publicly claimed her father was completely healthy, but leaked medical records told a different story. She insisted they spoke weekly, yet phone records showed almost no contact in his final months. And perhaps the most damning revelation, hospital staff confirmed she never visited during his treatment. Why would a devoted daughter refuse to acknowledge her father's deteriorating health? Was she simply in denial, or was she covering something up? Some believe Leslie was kept in the dark, intentionally cut off from her father's final days, but others speculate something more sinister, that she knew the truth but chose to hide it. Was she protecting her father's legacy, shielding her family from scandal? Or was she involved in something much bigger, a secret she never intended the world to uncover? As the dust settled, one thing became clear. Nothing about Gene Hackman's final days made sense. A Hollywood legend, isolated from the world. A wife who died under bizarre circumstances. A daughter whose story didn't add up. And a police investigation that, despite early suspicions, never went any further. Was this just a tragic case of neglect and secrecy, or was there something far more sinister at play? Some believe Hackman's deteriorating health was deliberately hidden to protect his public image. Others think his death was no accident, that he and Betsy were silenced before they could expose something dangerous. And then there's Leslie, the only person left who could reveal the truth. But will she ever break her silence? Or is Gene Hackman's death just another Hollywood mystery that will never be solved? Hollywood has always been a place of glamour, power, and secrets. But behind the bright lights and red carpets lies a darker reality, one where the truth is often buried forever. Gene Hackman was a legend, but in his final years, he became a ghost, cut off from the world, his health hidden, and his death shrouded in mystery. His wife's bizarre passing, the missing security footage, and his daughter's contradictory statements only deepened the questions. Was this just a tragic family breakdown? A cover-up to protect his legacy? Or was Hackman's silence forced, just like so many other stars before him? One thing is certain, someone isn't telling the full story. And in Hollywood, when the truth gets too dangerous, it has a way of disappearing.